A poor single dad helped a lost woman. Later, he found out she owned the company. He applied. To the morning sun cast long shadows across the cracked pavement of Maple Street as David Carter, 35, hurried down the sidewalk, his worn leather shoes clicking against the concrete. His navy blue suit, the only one he owned, was pressed but showed signs of age at the cuffs and collar. In his weathered hands, he clutched a manila folder containing his resume and references, his lifeline to a better future. David paused at the corner of 5th and Main, checking his phone. 8:15 a.m. He had 45 minutes to get to his job interview at Morrison Tech Solutions, one of the city's most prestigious companies. This was his shot, the opportunity he'd been praying for since losing his job at the warehouse 3 months ago. As he turned the corner, he nearly collided with a woman standing beside a sleek black BMW, her perfectly manicured hands pressed against her temples in frustration. Elena Morrison, 42, was the picture of success. Auburn hair pulled back in an elegant chignon, wearing a tailored charcoal blazer that probably cost more than David's monthly rent. But right now, she looked completely lost. "Excuse me," David said, stopping despite his tight schedule. "Are you all right, ma'am?" Elena looked up, her green eyes showing a mixture of embarrassment and stress. I'm completely lost. My GPS stopped working and I have an important meeting in 20 minutes. I need to get to Morrison Tech Solutions on Industrial Boulevard, but I have no idea where that is." David's eyebrows raised slightly. "Morrison Tech? That's actually where I'm headed to. I know exactly where it is. It's about 15 minutes. From here if you take the right route." "Really?" Elena's face lit up with relief. "Could you possibly give me directions? I'd be so grateful." David glanced at his phone again. If he gave her detailed directions, he might cut it close, but he couldn't just leave her stranded. "Actually," he said, making a quick decision, "why don't you follow me? I'm walking there anyway, and it's a bit tricky to explain. You can just drive slowly behind me." Elena's eyes widened. "You'd do that? But you'll be late for wherever you're going." "It's fine," David smiled warmly. "We're going to the same place anyway. Besides, my grandmother always said that helping others is never a waste of time." As they made their way through the city streets, David walking at a brisk pace while Elena followed in her BMW, she couldn't help but observe him through her windshield. There was something about his genuine smile, the way he'd immediately offered help without asking for anything in return. In her world of corporate executives and board meetings, such selfless kindness was rare. When they reached a confusing intersection where 3 streets converged, David stopped and walked back to her car window. "This part can be tricky," he explained, leaning down slightly. "You'll want to take the middle road, then immediately turn right at the coffee shop with the red awning. Morrison Tech will be in the large glass building on your left." "Thank you so much," Elena said, her voice sincere. "I'm Elena, by the way. I can't tell you how much this means to me." "David," he replied, extending his hand for a brief handshake, "and it's really no problem at all. I hope your meeting goes well." As Elena drove away, she watched David in her rearview mirror, continuing his walk with the same determined pace. Something about his character struck her deeply. In a world where everyone seemed to want something from her, here was a man who had simply helped because it was the right thing to do. David arrived at Morrison Tech with 5 minutes to spare, quickly checking his appearance in the lobby's polished windows. The building was impressive, all glass and steel, with a modern lobby that screamed success. He approached the reception desk where a young woman with a professional smile greeted him. "Good morning, I'm David Carter. I have a 9 a.m. interview with the hiring manager." "Of course, Mr. Carter. Please have a seat. Someone will be with you shortly." As David sat in the plush waiting area, he couldn't help but feel out of place. Other candidates were scattered around the lobby, all looking polished and confident in their expensive suits. He thought about his 8-year-old daughter, Sophie, who was probably just arriving at school. She'd given him an extra tight hug that morning, whispering, "You're going to do great, Daddy. I know it." The memory strengthened his resolve. This wasn't just about him. It was about giving Sophie the stable life she deserved, the opportunities he'd never had. 20 minutes later, David was escorted to a conference room on the 15th floor. The view overlooking the city was breathtaking, but his attention was focused on preparing for what could be the most important conversation of his life. "Mr. Carter?" A voice came from behind him. David turned around and his breath caught. Standing in the doorway was Elena, the woman he'd helped just an hour earlier, but now she looked different, more authoritative, more powerful. "Elena?" he said, confusion evident in his voice. "Please sit down," she said, a small smile playing at her lips as she closed the door behind her. "I think we need to talk." David remained standing, his mind racing. "I don't understand. Are you with HR?" Eleanor walked to the head of the conference table, her heels clicking against the polished floor. "Not exactly. I'm Eleanor Morrison. I own this company." The words hit David like a physical blow. He sank into the nearest chair, his manila folder suddenly feeling incredibly heavy in his hands. You're the CEO," he stammered. "CEO, founder, and owner," Elena confirmed, taking a seat across from him. "And you, David Carter, are the man who helped me when I was lost this morning, even though it meant potentially being late for your own job interview." David's face flushed red. "I had no idea. I mean, I never would have expected." "That's exactly the point," Eleanor interrupted, gently. "You helped me because it was the right thing to do, not because you knew who I was or what I could do for you. Do you have any idea how rare that is in my world?" She leaned forward, her expression becoming more serious. "I've been running this company for 12 years, David. I've met thousands of people, conducted hundreds of interviews. Everyone wants something from me, a job, a promotion, an investment, a favor. But this morning, a complete stranger helped me simply because I needed help." David found his voice. I just couldn't leave you there. Anyone would have done the same thing." "No," Elena shook her head firmly. "They wouldn't have. Most people would have been too busy, too focused on their own problems, but you stopped. You made yourself potentially late for an interview you clearly need, just to help someone you'd never met." She opened a folder in front of her, his application. "I've reviewed your resume, David. You've been unemployed for 3 months. You're a single father raising a daughter. You're facing financial hardship. This job means everything to you right now." David nodded, unable to speak past the lump in his throat. "And yet," Elena continued, "when faced with the choice between helping a stranger and protecting your own interests, you chose kindness. That tells me more about your character than any resume ever could." She stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city below. "I built this company from nothing, David. I started with a small loan, a big dream, and the determination to succeed. But success isn't just about profit margins and quarterly reports. It's about the people you surround yourself with, the values you uphold, and the legacy you leave behind." She turned back to face him. "I don't just need employees, David. I need people with integrity, compassion, and genuine character. People who will do the right thing even when no one is watching, even when there's no reward in sight." David felt tears threatening to spill over. "Are you saying—" "I'm saying that the position you applied for, Customer Relations Manager, is yours if you want it. But more than that, I want you to know that I see potential in you. Real potential. This job could be just the beginning." Elena sat back down, her expression warm but professional. "The salary is $75,000 annually, plus full benefits, health insurance, and an education fund for your daughter. You'll have a 2-week paid vacation, flexible hours when needed for family emergencies, and opportunities for advancement based on performance." David's hands trembled as he processed her words. It was more than he dared to hope for. It was life-changing. "I don't know what to say," he whispered. "Say you'll accept," Elena smiled. "Say you'll bring that same kindness and integrity to this company that you showed me this morning." David stood up, extending his hand. "I accept, and I promise you won't regret this decision." As they shook hands, Elena's expression became more personal. "You know, David, I've learned something important today too. Sometimes the best business decisions aren't made in boardrooms or based on spreadsheets. Sometimes they're made when you recognize genuine goodness in another person." She walked him to the door. "HR will handle all the paperwork. You start Monday. And David, thank you for reminding me that there are still good people in this world." As David walked back through the lobby, his steps felt lighter than they had in months. He thought about calling Sophie's school, about the look on her face when he told her the news, about the future that had suddenly opened up before them. Outside, he paused on the sidewalk where he'd first encountered Elena just 2 hours earlier. He pulled out his phone and dialed his daughter's school. "Hi, this is David Carter, Sophie's dad. Could you please tell her that Daddy got the job and that everything is going to be okay now?" As he walked home, David realized that his grandmother had been right all along. Helping others was never a waste of time. Sometimes it was the most important thing you could do. And somewhere in the glass tower behind him, Elena Morrison was already planning how to build a company culture around the values that David had shown her. Kindness, integrity, and the simple belief that doing good was its own reward. The encounter that had started as a chance meeting between strangers had become something much more powerful, a reminder that in a world that often seemed cold and transactional, human kindness could still change everything. The end. Thank you for watching this story unfold with us here on M&A The Story Unfolds. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new tale. We'd love to know where you're watching from. Leave a comment below and tell us what part of the world you're joining us from. Your support means everything. See you in the next story.